Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a high-level game of StarCraft 2. Today we have Maru versus Su. This was a game played in the most recent GSL group. So we see Maru opening up with, what the hell is this? Low ground barracks. No second barracks though. On the other hand we have Su with a quick hatch. Su's been getting back into it a little bit. Good performance so far this season. I think this is a round of 8 group, which honestly is a better performance than I think a lot of people would have expected out of Su. He also came to Dallas, where sadly he got knocked out by Harstem and beyond. Happens to the best though, you know. Can't always win. CVP in particular considered a pretty difficult matchup at the moment for most Zerg players. What is Maru doing here though? Look at this. He's gonna go double Marine. He's going to send out a second SCV to get that low ground factory. And I guess the play here is to try and take out this Overlord. And I'm wondering right now if he's going to be capable of doing that. I think the answer will be yes. I don't think there's any way this Overlord gets to safety. So that's mine as an Overlord. That's actually a pretty big deal. There's only a single Overlord in production. Look at this. Su is going to be supply blocked till the end of time pretty much. Links now making their way across the map. That is a solid 15-16 second supply block that Su is walking right into. It's going to be floating quite a bit of cash. I wouldn't have minded a faster hatch maybe in that case, you know? I guess it's not very optimal, but surely being supply blocked for this long also isn't that optimal. It's going to start another queen. Probably instantly needs to start a new Overlord here as well. Otherwise, he's just going to keep getting the same issue. Being supply blocked again and again and again. As for now, these links are trying to catch the Marines. One Marine will fall. There's still 3 links remaining, and a single Marine in orange health will get to survive. So that's 1 Marine for 4 links. This bad boy surviving with 5 HP. Relatively good start for Maru here. Really don't know how you're supposed to follow this up, but Maru does. He's gonna get a 3rd CC. What does Su have meanwhile? He has speed on the way. You supply block at 36, as mentioned before. It did look like this was a supply block party. It's one of these things that people don't really realize, but it's really important, even at the high level, not to get supply blocked. And people realize, but I often feel like it kind of gets overlooked. You know, the small mechanical details of StarCraft. StarCraft is a strategy game, but it's also a very mechanical game, a very mechanically challenging game. And if you find yourself in the situation where you're supply blocked for 30 or 40 seconds in the first 4 minutes, that's often not a great indicator that you're doing well mechanically. Or it is a great indicator that you're not doing well mechanically. For Hellions here trying to go for a run-by, no links in position to deal with this, as Su really goes from bad to worse here. This is not a good situation for him. This Evo chamber doesn't even finish up, as a bunch of drones will end up falling here. Splits are good though. Holy crap. No links were ready for this at all. But with some pretty decent drone splits, only ends up losing 6. Does of course lose a bunch of mining time as well over here in the main base. But overall this was... It's not a good situation, but it could have been worse. Let's put it like that. To be fair, live always could have been worse, but I think we would have expected it to be significantly worse than it was here. Yeah. I think that's important. The expectations didn't quite meet reality here. Or reality didn't quite meet the expectations, I should say. There's no Overlord on the other side of the map to go for any type of scout. We have 3 more barracks on the way. 3rd CC is up. This, by the way, was a really fast extra to eBay. Then into those 3 racks after. Gonna have a starport over here as well, which is cool. We now have a lair on the way. No pressure coming out of Maru anymore. It's gonna be going for a 16 Marine attack. That's the kind of the next layer of attacks here that will come out of the Terran player. That's really how this matchup tends to work. Is that Terran throws stuff at the Zerg and Zerg tries to defend into a solid mid game. And from there on out, I mean, Zerg has quite a few options what they can do. We've seen some pure Ling Bane, we've seen some Roach builds, we've seen some Ravager Ling Bane, we've seen some Hydra Ling Bane. There's a lot of different compositions the Zerg can go for to try and kill. For now it's going to be a 1-1 the range attack. Or missile attack it's called with Zerg. That's interesting. It's mainly interesting because it means it's going to be roaches. But even there's a couple of variations you can go for. We'll go over them in a little bit. We have the initial move out. This is all 12 Marines. There are a couple of creep tumors at least. So Overlord's going to fall as well. Actually quite painful. Not that much creep. There's not that many Overlords. First tank coming out. That's one of the disadvantages when you play this type of build order, where your factory is in charge of building the reactor for the starport, because your tank production starts relatively late. Good lord, I'm just getting into my 5th puberty at this point. Now, I'd figured that by the time I turn 30, is that, you know, my my voice would have found its proper range. It wouldn't be dropping any further. I wouldn't have the voice cracks anymore that I had when I was a 14-year-old boy. Oh well. It's not the case for me, at least. So we have 2-2 on the way here for Mara, and Maru's in a great spot. He's gonna have a decent amount of tanks. He is going into 8 racks, which I think technically is not actually that great for him. I think Maru much rather would have a second factory pumping out tanks. But I also believe this to be kind of okay. Maru can just max out or get as close to maxing out as possible. He has the backbone, the kind of the tank spine here behind all of this. So you can freely move on the map with high marine counts that he can just lift into the medevacs if things get dicey. Creep is being denied at a fairly decent rate. There we go. Might even kill a queen here and has the ability, of course, to pick up. I think this is a fight you don't really want to take. Maru agrees. He's going to pick up and piss off. Perhaps an attack on the far right side here could be helpful. Su, meanwhile, just maxing out on pure roach 1-1 upgrades. 2-2 hasn't even started yet for Su, who's just going hard for a 1-1 timing attack. Maru's trying to base trade against this. What? He's moving out. Is a complete misread here out of Maru. A complete misunderstanding of the situation. You don't have to push against someone that has 68 workers and is 1-1 roach maxing. He hasn't seen the drone count here on this fort base. And as a result here, it's going to be forced to lift this command center. We're going to get a bit of... This is a weird base trade. It's still going to be 2-2 versus 1-1, which should perhaps lead to some okay trades here for Maru, but... At the same time, there are a lot of roaches out. Marines now coming in with a flank as the queens try to hold the line over here. 3 tanks on siege moving in forward. Every single roach will end up falling as these tanks probably need to siege up at this point. Overlord's going down one by one. 63 workers still for Maru as he is going to siege up the tanks in the main base. But there's no Marines to actually defend them, and that means these tanks are going to fall before the Marines even get into the main. Su there with a quick response with the roaches, and is probably just going to clean this up as a result. Losing these tanks is actually quite painful. Not gonna lie about that. That was actually quite painful. 3rd base has fallen though. 4th base is mining. It's basically the same economical situation as we'd had earlier, except this time there's less tanks, which probably means it's good for Su, who's once again moving out across the map with Ravager Roach. Gonna try to defend this drop and will succeed. These roaches by themselves are good enough. 3-3 has now started. Or was the lair on the 3rd base? The lair was on the 3rd base. I was checking the production time. I see this lair building. I'm like, why the hell is that happening? Is that a second lair? But no, he didn't build it in the main. And as a result, he can't even start his 2-2. So that means that 3-3 upgrades are going to finish before 2-2 is going to finish for the opponent. So it's going to be a 4 upgrade deficit. Now moving out with 4 medevacs, 3 medevacs filled with Marines. Once again, kind of misunderstanding the position he's in. He's in a position where if Maru holds, he is fine. All he needs to do is not die right now, and instead we're going to get a base trade, which is not quite what we want. Overseers will provide high ground vision. That means that that's the end of the tank. There's a second tank over here on the top side. Can still be biled down, of course. There we go. Can we get a pickup in time? No, we can't. That's not how StarCraft 2 works. And without a tank here, this actually could be a serious issue. Once again, we have these Marines who haven't really achieved much of anything yet. Marine Marauder plus SCVs will try and clear this as the Biles connect with a lot of Marines, with a couple of the Marauders as well, and 36 SCVs have now gone down. This base at the same time is also going to fall. It is 66 workers to 27. Are these Marines enough to clear the roaches? Maybe actually, yeah, definitely. So these Marines are going to survive. Are there enough roach reinforcements here? We have a couple, we have 5, we have 6. Yes is the answer. There are enough roach reinforcements as Su is going to continue pushing in. E-base luckily on the high ground. That means that the 3-3 is going to finish up. And with 3-3 against 1-1, I'm not sure if you can just straight up fight into this. But maybe you can actually. Maybe you can. And Su is kind of backing himself into a corner. Is this something that... It is a big army, isn't it? I mean, Maru is busy with his drops and trying to take out 2 extra drones, but that's not going to make a difference. He's going to need a big win here. He's going to go for it. I really think this is possible with 3-3 versus 2-2. Hell yeah. Of course we can do that. Overseers don't actually see this move out. I don't think, at least. No, they didn't. That's wild. We still have this drop heading well, now into the main base. There are no tanks here whatsoever. There's just no units here whatsoever. So Su could technically just move in and win the game. Right now, a couple of roads being used to defend. Su probably just gonna return back home with his main army once he sees this though, right? No, he's gonna send... No, he's gonna go back. Okay. Yeah, he wasn't sure. If you send it, it's scary, because you're pretty much engaging into a full-on base trade. And you're probably not gonna kill a whole lot of buildings. But if you're going home, you're going to lose a lot of roaches before. You're giving your opponent time to build back up with a bunch of mules. 2 bases have gone down. Here we're going to get the full-on pickup. And now these medevacts are just going to ping-pong in between, well, what once was your 3rd base and what is your main. There's not that much mining anymore for Su either. He just is mining from basically 8 mineral patches and then a lot of long-distance mining. Hatchery is being rebuilt, but that's going to take a little while. We have mules now pumping. More Marauders on the way. Still have decent production, but no tanks coming in is actually an issue. Losing that factory sucked. Concussive shells now starting as well. Carapace level 2 has finally finished up. Range miss or missile attack level 2 is now being built. This spore will get targeted down. Oh, they lose a medevac as well as a couple of Marauders there. That's pretty sloppy out of Maru. I wonder what the plan is going to be for Su here. Like, do you want to go into a macro game from here? Is it even possible for Maru to get into a macro game from here? Well, apparently it is, because this base is going to get sniped. That is a pretty big deal. If you can also take this base out, then Maru is actually going to be outmining his opponent despite being down in workers. And despite having been down in workers for a while. So we take a look at the army supply here, and we see 121 to 67. That's not great for Maru, but he's still up in upgrades by a little bit. He has pretty okay tech. And he's outmining his opponent pretty significantly. He could throw down a Fort CC at some point. And if he can add in a couple of tanks here, we could see a world in which he stabilizes. We actually could see a world in which he stabilizes. I wonder if Su is gonna let it get there. Su desperately trying to tech into Hive. Because what Su really needs at this point is some type of anti-air. And I think Vipers are going to be a great source of anti-air here. As, these medevacs are not quite gonna die. 2 fungals did get used. So we have a move across the map. I don't entirely think you want to do that. I really don't think you want to do that actually. Yes, this 4th base now is gonna get dropped upon. Su once again getting caught out of position. He's gonna lose this base. He's gonna lose this base, I think. He's gonna get a couple of kills for it though, but the hatchery goes down. That's like the 4th hatch that gets sniped here. As these 2 Marauders drop, will take out a couple of drones as well. And slowly but surely, Maru economically is creeping back into this game when it comes to the worker count. I mean, mining-wise, he's been out mining his opponent for the past 2 minutes or so. We have our first tank out. We now have a starport with a reactor on the way. The problem is that there's not that many active medevacs anymore. We have 1 tank. I think if you get up to 2 tanks, maybe? I mean, the Marauder count is quite decent too. We have 20 Marauders. That's a lot of Marauders. It really is. The problem here is that a single stim is going to make these medevacs work overtime. Here we go. Fungal is not really going to connect in a big way. That medevac will fall. More biles raining down right now. Next tank comes in. Full on stim. SCV's being pulled off the line as well. Biles connecting way too hard here with this army. Maru tries to chase, but that shouldn't quite happen. This still was a fine fight for Maru. Look at this. 94 army supply to 60. 11 more roaches on the way. This, by the way, is a self-inflicted game out of Maru. If Maru had just stayed home with the 8 racks, he would have been in a phenomenal spot. Up 2 upgrades. Could have just sat behind tanks and marines and marauders. Main base is now flown over towards the 4th base location. We have a double tanks in position. For the first time in a while, we see Su actually outmining his opponent. But it's 44 workers right now for Maru, so Maru probably feels pretty okay about himself. So he adds in another tank. Oh, no. This is not a timing for a drop, is it, buddy? This is not the drop timing that we've been dreaming about. It feels like every single time so far that Maru moved out, it's been extremely risky. And I think this time the risk actually isn't going to pay off. There's a couple of tanks in the back. One gets taken out. This base will be forced to lift. Here we go with a base trade once more. He moves his tank back just a little bit. He's gonna need to reset it up. And his plan is just to snipe this base. And that plan is absolutely going to succeed. Although there are a couple of transfuses available. Marauders just have too much damage output. Loses about 6 supply there in the trade with the hatchery. Most definitely worth it though. Most definitely worth it. Now Su does feel comfortable in moving out. Has 2 Vipers as well. Has the Infestors. And an insane Ravager count. So I don't really see how Maru is planning on holding this. But a plan, I'm pretty sure he does have. 3-3 upgrades, not quite done yet. We're gonna have 3 tanks. That's going to be it. 21 Marauders, 3 tanks, 23 Marines, 28 Roaches, 19 Ravagers, 2 Infestors, 2 Vipers. Vipers are going to be key here with the Blinding Clouds. Let's see if we can hit anything. 1 Blinding Cloud, 2 Blinding Cloud. That means there's just a... Oh, 3 Blinding Cloud. Means there's no active tanks right now. Marauders in a good arc though. And these Ravagers actually aren't really pushing through. Tanks stay alive as well. As Maru doesn't just hold, but he holds convincingly without losing a tank. This was the best possible fight that Su could have hoped for. I guess the angle wasn't great, because not all Ravagers and Roaches were attacking, but he didn't kill nothing. Vipers did manage to stay alive. Infestor stayed alive, that's good. Income, still favored for Maru. As he's now adding in some Vikings as well. I wonder if a single Blinding Cloud can hit both of these. It's the edge. I think it might be capable. Oh, Marauders here getting caught out of position. Medevac count is pretty decent at this point as well once more. I feel like a turret over here would do wonders. Oh my god, it's gonna go for another pickup. He's just rinsing and repeating the same move again and again, and it keeps working. Here comes a Viking, starts fighting these Overseers, which is actually a pretty big deal. Biles will need to be used on it, but shouldn't actually catch it, of course. Second Viking now here as well, as the Vipers are going to move in from the side. There is still a turret there. Get a big fat stim, but this is just missing a lot of bio units that are now in these 2 medevacs. That is so much stuff that just isn't here in this fight. SCVs are going down, tanks activating again after the Blinding Cloud runs out. Supply is 80 to 67, but a lot of Maru supplies across the map. I feel like if that had been at home, it would have been so great for him, but it wasn't at home, and now it's not so great for him. However, he's going to get a snipe here on this hatch. He's going to perhaps even get a snipe on another hatch. He needs to take out some of these drones as well, though. Just continuously sniping hatches is fun, but I don't really think it's enough as the transfuses come in. That kills quite a few of them units, because they had to stay around for longer. And yes, you cleared those hatches, but you lost all your tanks. You lost a lot of the bio at home. Medevac count is still healthy. SCV count, however, isn't. It's 54 to 27. And I think at this point, if Maru had stayed at home, it would have been perfect. But all the other times, it was perfect for him to move across. So, you know, we can't flame him the only time it goes wrong. Because he tried this trick so many times and it worked out so many times. I can't blame the guy for trying again and again and again. I'm gonna go with an SCV drop towards the top right side. I've never seen this before. He's hiding a base 20 minutes in. This is extremely rare. Because he knows he can't defend the bases. So he's like, I'm just going to spread out my bases and then perhaps go for base trades or something. I guess that's what the plan is. And I like that plan. I think it's a good plan. Tank production should be prioritized here. That's exactly what Maru is doing. He scans across the map, sees the lack of an extra forward base, but this is the real problem here. These left side bases. Yeah, GG is going to get called. Su takes the W. A W he shouldn't have gotten. Maru gave it to him and then tried to take it back. But Su said, no, can't have it back. You traded it. You gave it to me. It was a gift. I ain't giving it back. And Su takes the map. Impressive stuff. All right, it's going to be it for me today. Hope you all enjoyed this game. If you did, don't forget to like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.